This image took about an hour and a half to paint, and in this video I'm gonna walk you through the whole process from start to finish. My name is Victor, I work as a concept artist, so let's get started. There's this one simple mistake that sometimes beginner artists might do, and the tricky part is that you don't notice it right away. You might sketch something out, maybe you start adding color, you block in some values, and suddenly the image feels a little bit off. At that point, a lot of artists might assume it could be a skill issue, or maybe it's just better to restart the painting altogether. Oftentimes it's simply a lack of a planning phase before you start your painting. The good news is it's incredibly easy to fix. Start by gathering a few reference images for your project, and once you'll take a few minutes to plan things out, you'll notice that your painting process becomes much smoother. You're no longer guessing, you're making decisions with intention, and a lot of those frustrating moments just stop happening altogether. So with that in mind, I have finished a very simple line sketch, and now we can move into blocking in the local colors. At this stage, keep everything as simple as possible. You can pick colors directly from your reference images, or maybe experiment with some lighting scenarios. Don't worry about being too accurate just yet. In fact, this is the time where you're allowed to be a bit loose. You can always adjust things later on. Use any brush that feels comfortable to you and focus on filling in the main shapes. Larger brush strokes work really well here. Think of it as laying down the foundation of your painting. Sometimes it really helps to separate your layers by distance, have one for the background, one for the middle ground, foreground, and so on. This makes it much easier to manage your scene as it grows. At this point, your painting might feel flat sometimes, and that's completely normal. There's no lighting yet, no shadows, no depth, and this next step is where things really start to come together. And if you're aiming to paint just like this, I've designed a digital painting mastery program to take you from beginner to confident artist step by step. This isn't random tips or scattered tutorials, it's a structured roadmap that shows you exactly what to practice and in what order. You'll learn how to control values, light, and color so that your paintings finally look intentional and professional. No more guessing, no more getting stuck halfway through. This program is made specifically for beginners who feel overwhelmed and don't know where exactly to start. If you're ready to see real improvement, then check the link below. Now we begin adding depth to the image. A simple way to approach this is to start from the background and move forward towards the camera. So maybe we introduce some clouds, add a bit of shading, and start indicating where the light is coming from. Next, you can block in the shadow areas, for example, the castle ruins, and here's something important. Don't focus on details just yet. What matters right now is the overall shape of the shadow. Keep it simple, keep it unified, because strong, clear shadow shapes are what give your image structure. From there, you can start building out the environment, add some trees, bushes, or any surrounding elements. But remember, not everything needs the same level of detail. If something isn't part of your focal point, you can just suggest it a little bit. A few simple shapes are often enough. Try to vary the size and placement of these elements. Maybe some are larger, some are smaller, spread out in a way that feels natural. This kind of helps avoid the repetitive, artificial look that can sometimes sneak into your work. And as we continue, we start developing more depth across the entire scene. I'm working a bit on that hill, adding some variation to the foreground and thinking about how the light interacts with the surface. The light is coming from the left, so I'm keeping that consistent, of course. Notice how I'm using a mix of soft and hard transitions. Some edges are sharp, others are a bit more blended. This variation is what makes forms feel more believable. And there's something to keep in mind as you work. The readability of your image depends heavily on your values. How you design your light and shadow shapes is what determines whether your painting feels clear or a bit more confusing. Now, let's talk about the water plane. There's a simple trick you can use to create reflections. It's pretty basic. You can take your landscape, copy it, flip it vertically, add blur to it slightly. That gives you a quick base for reflection and kind of works in majority of situations. Just to keep things a bit more organic, I'm choosing to paint it more loosely with a texture brush. And here's a subtle detail that could make a difference. Reflections are usually not identical to the object they reflect. They're often slightly slightly darker or maybe lighter and a bit less saturated sometimes, depending on the depth of the water and the surface conditions, of course. You can also add a few horizontal brush strokes on top. This helps suggest the movement of the water surface. We're aiming for something calm with just enough variation to feel believable. Now that we've established the base, we can start refining the focal area. Look at the shadow regions first. They might still feel a bit flat, so you can suggest details like windows or entrances using slightly darker values, for example. Just careful with the contrast. In shadow areas, contrast tends to be more subtle. The strongest contrast usually appears in the light. Next thing, you can refine the vegetation around the structure using smaller brush strokes, adding some texture and breaking up the shapes a bit. I also noticed that the foreground was a little bit too bright, so I toned it down slightly. This helps separate it from the middle ground and creates a clearer sense of depth. And that's something you kind of always want, a clear distinction between foreground, middle ground and background. Just to keep things a bit more organic, I'm choosing to paint it more loosely with a textured brush. And here's a subtle detail that could make a difference. Reflections are usually not identical to the object they reflect. They're often slightly darker or maybe lighter and a bit less saturated sometimes, depending on the depth. Now you can move on to the light side of the ruins, and I like to build this gradually. If you add too much contrast too quickly, you can create lots of unnecessary contrast and get closer in terms of values to the area in the shadows. So instead, I slowly layer in the information, adding subtle texture, suggesting some wear and tear, just keep the values controlled. You might notice that I increased the contrast slightly toward the top of the structure. It's kind of intentional. It helps guide the viewer's eye toward the focal point. You can also introduce some color variation here, maybe slightly more saturated areas or small accents of color, just to keep things visually interesting. But it's important not to overdo it. Too much variation can sometimes break the balance of the image. A little bit too bright, so I tone it down slightly. This helps separate it from the middle ground and creates a clearer sense of depth. And that's something you kind of always want, a clear distinction between foreground, middle ground and background. And at this stage, there are still areas we can improve. For example, the background, we can go in and add a bit more information, maybe suggest some distant trees, add a bit of texture, and maybe slightly shift the color temperature because that object is further away. Objects in the distance tend to appear cooler and maybe a bit less saturated due to atmospheric perspective. This also is a good moment to step back and kind of evaluate your focal point. Does it stand out enough? Does your eye naturally go there? If not, you can adjust the contrast, some details, or maybe color to strengthen it. A really useful habit is to zoom out frequently. I do this all the time. Look at your painting at a smaller size, because if the composition works when it's small, it's going to work even better when you zoomed in. Finally, we can look at the edges in the painting. This is something that often gets overlooked. Try to have a mix of edge types, some soft, some hard, and even some lost edges where forms blend together. So as you finish your piece, take a look at those edges, adjust where needed, and maybe make sure your focal area has the clarity it needs. And if you followed along up to this point, you'll probably notice something. The process feels a lot more controlled, a lot more intentional, and a lot less frustrating. And it all comes back to that one simple idea from the beginning, taking a little bit of time to plan things around, gather some references, work on your mood board, and continue from there. Alright, now let's have a look at the final image, and thanks so much for watching till the end. If you find this video useful and you want to see more tutorials just like this one, feel free to subscribe, drop a like, or even ask any questions you have in the comments. I'll try to answer as many as I can. Thanks again, and see you in the next one, coming soon.